Well, welcome. This is Jeff from UNYTEA, and I'm going to let him explain a little bit about what is his shop about, what does he kind of do. Go ahead and take it away.
In light of all stuff changing in the days of COVID, you shift around and you wear many hats and find out which one you land in. But primarily, I do a lot of education. I do have a store where I do source teas directly from small, usually more handmade artisan batch tea. But I really like to think that selling is the smaller part of what I do. And I really like to not like educate as in like lecture people, but more so just be a resource for Q&A about tea because there's so many questions in the world of tea. So I found that I was really good at just sort of being a quick bouncing board for people that have a lot of questions about either getting into tea or just learning more about tea.
Yeah, and you do a live just about every morning, right? So if you guys need somebody to have tea with, you can always have tea with Jeff. He's always on in the mornings and drinking and kind of talking about tea, talking about what's current in the world and things like that. Do you want to kind of touch on that?
Yeah, so ever since Instagram added the live feature, I was like, there's got to be a tea use for this, and I kept thinking, do I teach classes or do I? And then I said, well, why don't I just hit record and just drink tea, and whoever pops up can pop in and
Yeah.
we'll talk about whatever they want to talk about. And then it quickly became a place where a lot of people felt comfortable coming to and with questions or just even not like wanting a definitive answer, but just sometimes just want to pose a question as to what the possibilities of that question are. And I was always a person that was always more than willing to entertain any type of tea talk like that.
Yeah, and just exploring the teas and the different tastes and the different varietals. It's been awesome. I join in sometimes. It's a lot of fun when I have time. I am a big fan of his teas as well. They're primarily raw, loose leaf, wild, and unique. Can you touch a little bit more about that, about what makes them special and different?
Oh, each one, I think the reason it ends up getting picked is because whatever it is, it has something that just really makes you not only remember it, but the day after you have it, you say, yeah, I want to have it again. I want to have it again. Like that sort of addictive kind of quality to it. A lot of our teas are on the unique side of we have a few Japanese white teas, which are very thought of to be very rare.
Yeah,
Um, those it's just that is more of just it's lucky that the tea I ended up sourcing and liking ended up being so unique. Sometimes the uniqueness is what will sometimes draw my eye to them, is to want to sample them. But really any tea could fit the spot. It's just how what producer made it, what their farming techniques were, what their production. Um, any tea is I believe the phrase, not my cup of tea, is a I mean, that's a phrase for a reason. I would like to think that the reason is seriously that people who know a lot about tea know that there's a most likely, even of every tea type, there's a tea that you specifically will like, even if you're not, maybe you're not that into green tea. But there is most likely a sencha out there that anybody will like.
absolutely.
And
I 100% agree. I mean, there's over 10,000 varieties of tea. You've got to find one that fits your profile taste And, just in terms of like what you like, I mean, it could be blended, it could be raw, it could be pure leaf, it could be something amazing light. So, some people, I've had people taste just plain white teas and then they'll be like, I don't taste this. And it's,
Yep.
it's purely subjective. So yeah, I could not agree more. Um, the other thing I wanted to know, how did you get started with that type of like niche, the pure leaf, unique, wild type teas? Like what kind of drew you to that?
So I loved I found a friend that owns a tea company that like you makes tea blends, but with a lot of integrity. And so I was into tea for many years, but started to get more into loose leaf as like Tivana became kind of bigger. But I found that my friend that yes, she had tea blends too, but I could taste that there was just I enjoyed them more. And the more I talk with the person, the more I learn of how much kind of integrity they put into it. And so it gave me this idea of like, okay, so like there's to this higher end tea, there's some possibility. And even when I started getting into more straight laced teas, um, I still was sweetening with honey. I even if it was local honey or whatever, I still like to add a little bit of honey until I had a Taiwanese oolong called Gui Fei Cha that is an incredibly sweet tea.
Mhm.
And I tried it from the owner's suggestion without sweetness. I sipped it and I looked at them as if, wait, you didn't there's no honey in this, there's nothing, and they're like, no, that's just the leaf, no added ingredients. And that changed my ideas of like, whoa, so like, I mean, there are good tea blends out there, but you're telling me that there are just single origin teas out there that have a ton of flavor, that have a ton of sweetness, and that just beyond fascinated me. So it's what I tend to drink every day, but it's not what I'm only willing to enjoy.
Yeah, I totally get it. I definitely, I'm a little bit like I'm not picky about tea in general. I mean, obviously I want really good quality. But when it does come to blends, I'm like you. I would rather have the raw leaf that tastes amazing on its own if the blend isn't done right or it's over
Right.
flavored or it's kind of just like too much. It's very strong and it's got this kind of oily weird taste on your mouth after feeling. And I can 100% agree with you. And it's amazing that you can find those teas that actually have all of these complex different notes that are just pure raw loose leaf teas. Where do you like how do you source those types of teas? Like where do you find those unique type of teas?
Um, social media for the most part. That was the company kind of got started because I had tried all of the outlets that I could find for tea, and I loved everything I was trying, and I just wanted to try more. And I'd noticed, and this was like maybe 10 years ago, I noticed that on my Facebook, I would just have these tea farmers friend me. And I could look and creep into their Facebook. I could see they actually were farmers, they were actual producers. And after kind of following a couple for a little bit, I finally reached out to a few and said like, "Hey, can I try your teas?" And just sampled what they had and learned from every experience that I had thereafter. But a lot of my producers that I found are either through referral, like someone has connected us,
Mhm.
me and the producer, or it's social media, just digging and doing like almost like good tea detective work just trying to just
That's
trying to
great.
find stuff, like that's it.
Yeah.
It's just out of how much I enjoy tea and how much I just wanted to experience more and more. It was never it did never started as a business venture at all. It was just purely just passion that,
Wow.
that brought me here.
I did not know that. That is amazing. Um, do you think like at some point you'll ever venture into like Indian, Nepalese, or Ceylon type teas as well? Because you primarily do um, Asian teas and
Yep.
um,
Yeah, right now it's just Taiwan, China, and Japan. Um, I used to accept samples more openly. And I had a couple of rough years where I was just getting a lot of very poor Indian samples.
hmm,
Just, I mean, I was giving it all a good shot and it was very overwhelmingly disappointing. And I was having to throw out a lot of tea. And I had to close that door for a while, and
yeah.
more so that I could learn more about those first three just main Asian tea producing countries. And now that I do feel I've learned, a good amount about those three countries and what they uniquely have to offer, I would love, especially I love Himalayan and Nepalese tea.
Oh yes,
I
you will love
they're
it. Yeah.
there as soon as I connect with a producer and I like the tea enough,
Mhm.
it wouldn't take, that's all it would take. It
Yeah.
wouldn't They wouldn't have to twist my arm very hard. Like
Yeah.
I I love Nepalese tea. I really
Yeah.
do.
And I mean, I've been to the factories and the farms there. I have a friend who actually is part of the ITMA as well, Nishchal, who works for Nepal Tea LLC. I can hook you guys up if you want. He's amazing.
Yeah.
His tea masters that work with the tea there, they do such an amazing job. I mean, they really put their energy into it. The people who work there are very happy. The energy is, it goes into it. They pay for that company in particular pays for the schooling for all of their children and their housing. I mean, it's quite
Wow.
an amazing company. And if you were going to get it from anywhere, I would definitely recommend them for sure. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to find out, kind of pick your brain a little bit. For those of you that have not checked him out on Instagram, you guys can find him on Instagram at UNYTEA. He has some amazing teas. I've tried a lot of them. I buy some for myself. It's so good. And if you just want pure